Hey guys, Ghost here, Dave here with another Destiny 2 video, checking out a weapon that, oh boy, did we miss, and you might have missed as well. If you didn't play Destiny 2 in year 1 and play Iron Banner, you've probably never heard of Orimund's Anvil. Orimund's Anvil is a 450 RPM auto rifle that's actually pretty nutty. Look at that, it's got better range, stability, and handling than the Horror Story, which I would say the Horror Story is one of the stronger 450 auto rifles. It's my personal favorite. But the base stats on this gun are incredible. Obviously, as we mentioned, it is a precision frame 450 RPM. It is a beautiful look to it. It shades really well. It's got 3 different sights. We're rocking the Model 6. It's got accurized rounds and steady rounds. Whether you want range or stability, no matter what, you're going to be dominating one of those stats depending on what you choose. But we're rocking accurized rounds because the range on this auto rifle is incredible. And under pressure increases our stability when we're on the bottom half of our magazine. Only having 33 shots in our mag means under pressure procs quite often, and as you can see, that absolute behemoth of a range stat. So let's go ahead and look at the footage with this gun. So before we start deep diving into Orimund's Anvil and why I really want to see it return in Destiny 2 Year 3, let's just talk about auto rifles like this in general, in case anyone out there has never touched an auto rifle, especially not in the Crucible. So for those of you who don't know, 450 RPM precision frame auto rifles have the ability to 6 headshot, 2 body shot to reach their optimal time to kill of 0.93 seconds. 0.93 seconds is not a bad time to kill whatsoever, however, it is not the most competitive. However, this is made up for in the fact that you're allowed the leniency of landing 2 body shots. You don't need to land all 8. If you land all 8, you're still going to kill in the same amount of time, but you can miss 2 of your headshots. It's an automatic weapon, so it's firing relatively fast, and an adaptive frame generally have very rounded stats across the board. Having very strong rounded stats across the board makes the weapon feel reliable, and having a range stat this high makes up for the fact that they're rounded across the board. Otherwise, while it's consistent across the board, it does excel in the range stat, which puts it above other 450s that simply have the rounded stats. Being a static rolled year 1 weapon up against all the god rolls and random rolls here in year 2, I would have to say that Orimund's Anvil held its ground incredibly well. I would say this gun, even now, still felt incredibly reliable, and we know it's old, so I guess you could go ahead and say that it's old reliable. As somebody who really enjoyed this weapon in year 1, it still held its ground very well in year 2, and that's without a mod socket, that's without a second perk that could be doing anything, damage, really any perk whatsoever could just be adding to it. Obviously same with the mod socket, it just adds way more consistency or something else you can specifically do with the weapon, and that's with a year 1 masterwork as opposed to a year 2 masterwork. For those of you who don't know, year 1 masterworks are a lot cheaper, however year 1 masterworks give less of a percent stat boost than year 2 masterworks. So its stats, although are incredibly strong and incredibly high already, could be even higher with a year 2 masterwork. It's definitely missing some stuff that could be making this weapon absolutely bonkers. However, like I mentioned, a year 1 Orimund's Anvil still felt really good in the Crucible. If you're the type of person who likes a lot of range on your auto rifle so you can duel every other auto rifle, duel some hand cannons outside of their optimal time to kill range, and even get into some of the lower range pulse rifles ranges and beat them with a better optimal time to kill, then I think Orimund's Anvil would be the weapon for you. The only problem is, you can't get it anymore unless you played in year 1, played Iron Banner, and got lucky enough to get Orimund's Anvil dropped for you. However, obviously then you can just pull it from collections and you have it permanently, but I think this weapon could be even better. A strong feeling auto rifle like this, with random rolls, oh, that could be dirty. Like I said, a lot of this weapon's strengths comes from having incredibly high base stats. That means that whatever perks, whatever rolls you get on it, are only going to be making this weapon even better. Alright, so maybe I've intrigued you here. Maybe you're thinking, okay, wait a second, with random rolls, this could be the best auto rifle in the game, dare I say it. But what are the odds that that's actually going to happen? Well, I actually think it's incredibly likely that we could see Orimund's Anvil return. They've been bringing back a lot of year 1 Iron Banner weapons. We've seen Hero's Burden, Shining Sphere, Orwing's Maul. We've seen a lot of them return. Gnor's Axe as well, with random rolls. So why would they bring this one back? Well, you see, we currently do not have an Iron Banner auto rifle. We don't have an Iron Banner auto rifle, so that means one of 2 things. They make a new one, or they bring one back that people are familiar with random rolls, and then boom, new gun, new rolls, shaking things up. Some of you know Hero's Burden came back with random rolls, but had to compete with the Recluse, which meant that it's not really going to go ahead and stand out too much. However, outside of the Recluse, I would say that a God roll Hero's Burden is probably the second best SMG in the game. Hero's Burden is incredibly strong and lethal with the right combo of perks, and that very same thing could happen to our dear old Orimund's Anvil right here. If Orimund's Anvil gets random rolls, I personally have a plethora of perks that I would be fine with it getting. Any damage dealing perk outside of Kill Clip, hell, even Kill Clip, I would take as long as I get something like Flared Magwell and a Reload Masterwork so I can get off that Kill Clip faster, because as you might have seen in the beginning, Orimund's Anvil's weakest stat is its reload speed, and if I'm rocking Kill Clip on an auto rifle, I want to be proccing it as quick as possible. However, I personally would love to see Rampage or Swashbuckler on this thing. Rampage or Swashbuckler, while they don't directly immediately change the time to kill of 450s, they do, however, extend your range by a point or two, because they add a point or two of damage, which ends up just meaning that you have a little bit more range before you start falling off and missing out on your optimal time to kill. Getting a single stack of Swashbuckler or Rampage pretty much extends you by a meter or two, which can definitely end up making the difference in a firefight. When it comes to sights for the weapon, assuming it gets most of the EDZ sights, I personally would be looking for the Model 8 red dot sight. However, if I got the Model 6 that you see here on the screen, I wouldn't really complain about it. They're pretty much the same thing. They play the same way. I just prefer the look of one of them, but they would both do the job just the same for me. When it comes to the magazine option, well, we have a lot of options. As you guys can see here, Accurized Rounds puts in work. However, there is a perk that does the same thing, but it's pretty much just better than Accurized Rounds, and that is Ricochet Rounds. Ricochet Rounds not only extend your range, they can ricochet off walls, kill somebody around cover if you play them correctly, but they also have that little bit bump to stability. Stability is really nice on any auto rifle. While it's not incredibly hard to control auto rifles, just being able to focus on your tracking just a little bit easier and put a little bit less effort into it makes it a lot easier to hit your optimal time to kills. That's obviously me just assuming that they would give this gun ricochet rounds. There are plenty of auto rifles out there that don't have access to ricochet rounds despite having random rolls. So if I weren't to get ricochet rounds, I would be perfectly fine with Accurized Rounds. While we're missing out on the stability in the ricochets, we do just get a little bit more range than ricochet rounds, so I'm really not complaining if I'm getting more range. Flared Magwell would be fine as well if I have something like Kill Clip or Multi-Kill Clip on this weapon if it gets one of those. For the next perk, I'd be looking for really any of the stability-based perks, whether it be Under Pressure, Tap the Trigger, Zen Moment. Any of those is perfectly fine with me. However, a different one that people might not expect that I'd be fine with is Dynamic Sway Reduction. For those of you who don't know, while that sounds like it would be a stability boosting perk, Dynamic Sway Reduction actually pretty much gives you more range. While it doesn't boost your damage fall off specifically, it does make your bullets more clustered the farther they go. As you guys know, as you're shooting an automatic weapon in this game, the farther range the bullets travel, the more spread out they get and the less likely they're actually going to be landing on their targets. They're truly only hit scan up to a certain range. Granted, if you're perfectly tracking them, it's more likely you'll be landing your shots. However, as I mentioned, they spread out and you can still absolutely miss them. As for the next perk slot, as I mentioned, I'd be fine with any of those damage dealing perks. I'd be perfectly fine with Rampage, Swashbuckler, Kill Clip, or Multi-Kill Clip. However, if I had Kill Clip or Multi-Kill Clip, I would be wanting one of the Flared Magwell or Reload Speed Masterwork, one of those things just to make the reload speed on this weapon a little bit faster, so I can proc Kill Clip and stay in the fight and not have to sit back and wait, take extra time as I reload. Obviously, Rampage or Swashbuckler would be more preferred. But you know, actually another perk that I'd be really fine with on an auto rifle like this is Demolitionist. For those of you who don't know, because Demolitionist is still a relatively new perk, Demolitionist gives you a percentage of your grenade back upon every single kill. It's somewhere around a 6th or an 8th in Crucible, but the point is you're still just going to be getting your grenade back just for getting kills, along with throwing your grenade is going to fully reload your weapon. So we talked about the fact that this weapon has a relatively slow reload speed compared to all its other stats, so having an instant reload would be pretty awesome. But, as of course I mentioned, this is all purely speculation. We have no idea what sort of roles Orimund's Anvil could see in Destiny 2 Year 3, or if it will ever actually return to the Destiny franchise. However, because we are missing an auto rifle and Iron Banner, I wouldn't be so surprised if they went ahead and used one, especially since it's using a frame that they used on many guns in Year 1, and seeing it return in Year 3 makes a lot of sense to me. Hope you guys liked the video. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, do whatever you want. Follow me on all my social media, join me on Discord. As you can see, I popped off with a Year 1 weapon, rocking out with a 6.4 efficiency, 32 defeats using Orimund's Anvil, and I have to say, I really do enjoy this weapon and would love to see it make a return. Thank you all so much. I'm out of here.